It's clear that traditional top-down approaches won't change the status quo. But I believe we can make change in a more grassroots way.
Good to be here. Always like to come to New York. I'm kind of a country guy, but there's just something about New York. It's always fun to be here. The first thing I want to do is I just want to take a moment and acknowledge how far we have come. I remember years ago sitting at the dining room table. You know, we always ate around a big table. We had a big family. And I didn't grow up as a boy eating this way. And I remember my dad, I still remember that time that you came home and you started talking about how you discovered that you could turn cancer on and off by switching from animal to plant protein. And so we started changing. We started going on this journey, and thankfully I have a mom that can cook like no cook. She's really good, and she made it easy. So that was great. But it was a journey for us. And I remember early on telling my friends when we ate, I was kind of embarrassed actually. And it just seemed so alien and so foreign. But look where we've come. You know, all these films, and there's more than we put here on the slide, and books. And it's just been an explosion in information across this country with information about the plant-based diet. And thousands of people are making the change. So I think the first thing we have to do is we have to acknowledge our progress. But I'm going to make an argument here that it has to happen even faster. You know, if you drive across this country and you go to any community in this country, you're going to see that still most people are not plant-based. And we're running out of time for reasons that my father explained. It's the issue of climate change. Now, I'm not going to talk a lot about this because I promised I'd try to keep my talk 15 to 20 minutes. So I really can't get into the details of all of this. But this is a serious problem, far more serious than many people understand. And I'll just say one reason we don't understand it is for the same reason we didn't understand nutritional science. Climate science is done the same way. People look at one variable, how it relates to the system, and they try to make predictions about the system based on what they know about that variable. But climate science is the climate is infinitely complex, beyond our ability to comprehend. So what happens is you can get these kind of nasty feedback loops that begin to occur that you couldn't see coming. And this is happening now. It's happening fast and furious. It seems like every other day there's a new feedback loop. And the warming trend is accelerating. Okay, the curve is going from a linear to more of an exponential curve, and it's happening right now. As Jody referred to in her talk, the IPCC, the Intergovernmental Panel on Climate Change, came out with this report here just recently, saying that basically we had 12 years to get our act together, or we risk kind of tipping into some kind of runaway warming effect. Now, the thing that's troubling about this is the IPCC is actually a very conservative body because it's a highly politicized process. So whatever they say is not the worst case scenario. It's probably the best case. But I say this in all my talks. I am an optimist. Okay? I have always been optimistic about everything my whole life, about everything I do. And I don't see this as being any different. I don't think that we have even tried to fix this problem. You know, when we look out at the world, we oftentimes look at it in such a reductionist fashion. And we look at a tree, whatever's closest to us. And we do this, worst of all, with the problems that we have. So we have a big problem and we fixate on the problem, but we miss the forest of solutions that are out there. And we have a lot of potential solutions. There are so many advances that are occurring right now with wind power and solar power and battery technology and even reflecting sunlight up into these towers that have molten salt to hold heat and all kinds of things that people are coming up with. But we still haven't scratched the surface of what's possible in terms of how we solve this, because we have a massive tool at our disposal that very few people understand. That's the food that we choose to eat. Animal agriculture has a far greater impact on our climate than most people realize. In 2009, a World Bank group found that animal agriculture contributes about 50% to the human-induced warming effect. The FAO came out later with a lower figure, but that's a highly political process, and it was really representing the global livestock industry. The food that we choose to eat has an enormous impact on our climate because of intensive use of energy, deforestation, loss of carbon from soils, methane production, nitrous oxide production. So if we want to reduce emissions, just eat plants. Okay? The other side of this that people even have less awareness of is what we could do to remove carbon from the atmosphere if we all ate plants. There are some amazing ideas that people have for how we could use drones to reforest the plant. They actually have drone technology that can plant massive areas of land. So there's the possibility for massive reforestation, afforestation, production and distribution of biochar, which is a way to sequester carbon. And then a technology called bioenergy with carbon capture and storage, where you could grow plants, burn those plants for power, capture the carbon, and inject the carbon underground. The problem is that every time people talk about these ideas, they always say, but this is going to compete with animal farming. We need to not animal farming. This is going to compete with our agricultural requirements. But that's not true. Because 70 to 80% of all the agricultural land that we use is used for animal farming. So if we lived in a plant-based world, we'd open up vast areas of the Earth's surface to help sequester carbon. So this is a really important idea, and it's why we need to make this change on a mass scale as quickly as possible, and that's the intent of something that we are calling our Healing America campaign. And I'm just going to go through and just hit a few high points here. What we are doing, and just roughly here, what we are doing is we're building upon what PPC has done with its concept of campaigns and toolkits to develop more defined templates for strategies that groups can use in local communities to share the plant-based nutrition message and also to engage in climate advocacy. We are in the process now of validating these across the country. We're going to bundle these project templates together with the resources that are required to implement these strategies in local communities into a web-based platform that we are making pod-centric. So pods can jump on this platform, sign up, and have a menu of sort of activist strategies that they can engage in with resources. We're going to launch this through our pod network in 2019, which, as you've heard, currently involves over 130,000 people, and it's growing every day. And I think in 2019, I think the growth rate is going to greatly accelerate. Now, the best part about this is information on best practices can be shared through the system because of this web platform we're creating. So if a group in Seattle wants to copy what someone here in New York did that was successful, they can go in there and grab the plans and resources of the group. And so we can create this kind of collective mind of social invention and social learning. So here's some examples of these campaign strategies or projects that we're going to launch. We have a strategy for outreach to the public. Again, all of this anchored by the pods. Outreach to employers. Employers have no idea how much money they can save through this idea. Healthcare providers. You've heard about the OASIS program, and we're going to launch that one first here in New York City with Somos Community Care. And then youth climate advocacy. We have a project that will be targeted toward colleges and universities to engage young people in this health message and climate advocacy. As I said, we're launching this, we're validating these project templates with groups around the country right now. We're also filming everything that we do. We have a camera crew. We tried to film this, but we ran into a snag with the bureaucracy of the building, so our film crew's not here tonight. But we're filming everything that we do because we're going to be, and we already are doing this, but we're going to continue streaming out short videos so that people can follow along and be motivated to jump into our storyline. We're also going to use the footage for production of a feature film a sequel to Plant Your Nation under the name Healing America. And I'm so excited about this film. We have a storyline for the film that it's been a long time in the making, but we've got this thing scripted out from start to finish. And I'm not going to spoil it, but I just kind of hit a few high points. It starts in a trailer park community in southeast Louisiana, in the middle of Cajun country, next to the bayou and a swamp. And the bayou and the swamp are different things, by the way. They're sort of similar, but they're also different. So it starts there, and we demonstrate something unbelievably powerful. Then what we do is we say, we're going to take this idea, we're going to take this across the country. And so the storyline explodes to a storyline that goes across the country, and it's going to be here in New York too, by the way. The Somos Community Care, they're going to be a key part of our storyline. So it goes across the country, and then eventually lands softly back at the trailer park. And we're going to see something remarkable that's happened there. And there's one other piece of the storyline, but I'm going to hold off on telling you about that just for a moment. I want to share with you first a short video from our project in Louisiana. Okay? And I'll just give you a little backstory on this. So we went to a place where I heard over and over again people told me, we eat everything that crawls and slithers across the ground. You guys aren't going to be able to probably have a lot of impact here. But I never saw a sicker community in terms of health. So many sad stories, so many sad stories. So we had our kickoff meeting. We didn't know how many people were going to show up. We actually got a big crowd. I was surprised. And there was an older gentleman and his son sitting at a table. And so after I finished talking, the son stood up. And he said, I discovered the plant-based diet a couple of years ago. Maybe it was 3 years ago. I don't remember the exact timing. But he was morbidly obese. He lost an enormous amount of weight. Healed himself of all kinds of conditions. His mother had already passed. She died young of a food-borne illness. It might have been heart disease or cancer or something. I think it was heart disease. And he was telling the story, and then he turned to his father. He said, "This is all I have left." This is my dad. He said, "I've been trying to get my dad to do this, but he won't do it." And he said, finally, I convinced him to come down here with me. Basically, I dragged him down here. So he's telling this story, and he broke down and started crying in front of everyone. Just broke down in tears. So at the end of the session, I went up to this gentleman, and I used all whatever skills of persuasion I have developed over the years, I applied to this gentleman. And I tried to get him to open up and show that this is consistent with his values. And finally he said, "I'll tell you what," he said, "you brought the food. I got to respect that. And you paid for the food." So he said, "I'll do it. But I'm not going to do it after 10 days. He says, "I'm a stubborn man." This is a man who's a Vietnam vet, suffers from PTSD. He had gout so bad, his legs were so thick with fluid that he had a hard time getting out of bed and to the recliner every day. That's basically all he did. Is got from the bed to the recliner to the bathroom to the kitchen. That was it. So he's doing it, and after a few days, we're talking to his son and hearing some remarkable things. And so on the 7th day, we went to interview him. His gout was gone, or mostly gone, by the 7th day. And he's experiencing all of these types of things. So let me just play this, because I just thought you would find it of interest. Oh, it hits the... Oh. See, this happens, my cursor, it goes somewhere, but I can't see it. Here we go. I just found it. Can you hear it? We check just the volume.
How many pills do you take a day?
12 pills a day. Blood pressure, heart, breathing, prostate medicine, gout, but just you name it, I guess. Joshua came in one day and he said, he said, would you be interested in doing a 10-day plant-based thing? And I told him, I said, I'll think about it because I don't like to be pushed. Anyway. So I thought about it and finally he asked me again and I said, okay, yeah, I'll do it. And I committed to it and I'm sticking to it.
I've been doing this for 2 years by myself, living in a lonely world, you know. But now I have somebody that is doing it with me and he's seeing the health benefits and it gives me so much joy because in 7 days he sees what I've been enjoying for 2 years now. And maybe I do have, like my sister's type 2 diabetic. Maybe she'll see, well, my dad's getting healthy. Maybe I should try this. And maybe it'll change our whole family. You know, because they look at one person, but when you have a community around it, you make more changes in groups than you do just one person.
So as we launch this Healing America campaign, I'm always looking for groups and organizations and forces out there in society that can provide support. That's been our biggest problem from day one, has been resources, lack of resources. It's hard to do to do what we've done with the money that we've had. So I've been involved in a dialogue going back to last March. And it's probably a little premature for me to say a whole lot about it, but I want to say something because it's so potentially exciting. Since last March, with key leadership from the U.S. produce industry, our farmers, the people who grow produce, distributors, processors. And I think we're very close to bringing that industry behind this health message, to embrace the message in this campaign to heal America. Because unlike many of the other industries benefiting from our health, they have something that benefits our health. Now, what's interesting to me is in my dialogue with them is I was shocked to learn how far behind the curve they are in terms of their understanding of the plant-based movement. So I've been educating them on this. But we're very close to a groundbreaking partnership. And I can't go into all these details, but this is just, these general points. This would be an opportunity for us to restructure our organization so that we can create a novel kind of organization that would enable us to allocate our profits in support of philanthropic activities aligned with the defined social mission statement. So this becomes an economic engine to help support this plant-based movement. And then working with these folks to raise public awareness of the health benefits of the plant-based lifestyle, and also targeting America's work sites. Because I think when employers wake up to this idea, it really will be game over when they understand how much money they can save through this. So one more quick video. It's only 60 seconds, but I went to have a meeting with the leadership of the key marketing face of the produce industry. And I said, you've got to get behind this. And I made all my arguments and the history and all of that. And I said, here's how you could message this. And so this is just a rough draft that, we did this two days before we went up there, but it just gives you an idea. And they loved it. They loved it.
The story of humanity is a story of innovation. But despite our progress, we have searched for health all the wrong places. The source of health is not in a lab or a factory, but in the bounty of nature. Produce farmers have the real medicine to heal America.
See, they need to embrace what they have. Just like the drug companies fill our TV airways with drug commercials, our produce growers, farmers, distributors, processors, they need to step up and embrace what they have to offer. So, okay, this is my last slide. I see I've already gone 5 minutes over. So I mentioned that I left out a key element of our intended storyline for our film. So again, it starts in this trailer park and then it starts to go national. It runs through New York as well. But it all builds up. This is our moonshot idea. You gotta have a moonshot idea, right? So this is our moonshot idea. It all builds up to a big event that we organize, a rally and a concert in Washington, D.C. And we have a lot of connections now that I think we could leverage to get, maybe a well-known musician to do this. But I would love to have a big event in Washington where we could really make our closing argument and bring mainstream media attention to our health and environmental message. But also, and this is what I'm going to leave you with here, is this thought. I think there's an opportunity for us through this strategy to demonstrate a new paradigm for social change, a new political paradigm that perhaps weaves that strand that tends to find a home on the right, that strand that believes that government's not a great tool for remaking society, for social change, but weaves that together with the beautiful strand on the left that says, none of us can be truly free until we are all free. And we have got to be socially active. We've got to be activists. We've got to take responsibility for helping those who don't have the benefits that we have. And so I think we can weave those strands together within a new paradigm based on empowering local communities to fix problems. And this is what we intend to do through this strategy that we're launching, this Healing America campaign. And why do I believe so strongly in that? We've had some horrible news here lately. That massacre in Pittsburgh is just beyond, you can't even, somehow, it's just mentally hard to even process. And you see these evil impulses kind of coming from every which direction, but I truly believe that our default position is not evil. At our core, it's love. At our core, I do believe that we come into this world with goodness. And I think that when we live in connection with one another, that enables the fuller expression of compassion and respect in society. And so rather than bickering, as we do, all this partisan bickering, we're all just looking at pieces of a bigger truth and fighting about these little pieces and not seeing the bigger truth. Instead of this partisan bickering, we need to be debating and testing, developing and implementing strategies that empower communities to fix problems, that bring people together, resource people, organize people, inspire people. And this is what we want to do through our Healing America campaign, above all else. Because maybe that'll beg the question, how could we do this with other problems that we have as a society? And this is why, when I started Plant Pure Communities, I put communities in the name, because this was always part of the long-term vision. So anyways, thank you for coming tonight.
If you know as a famous nutritional scientist, considered by many around the world as the science father of the plant-based nutrition movement. He is most well known as the author of the books The China Study and Whole. I am excited to share with you information about the resources offered by Plant Pure Communities to support your efforts to share the plant-based nutrition message with family, friends, and others in your community, and to help grow the global plant-based movement. Have many of you noticed how many commercials on TV advertise unhealthy foods, and then drugs that claim to cure the diseases caused by those foods? Does it make you angry when you see our government, the dairy industry, and physicians promoting cow's milk for strong bones, and see the federal government putting milk and cheese into the school lunch program? Are you concerned about the state of the environment, especially the urgent problem of climate change? And last but not least, are you saddened by the horrific treatment of animals on factory farms? If these things bother you, there's some good news. There is an opportunity for you to join with others to help overcome the powerful special interests earning billions of dollars from our poor health. Corporate interests are powerful in Washington, and therefore it's clear that traditional top-down approaches won't change the status quo. But I believe we can make change in a more grassroots way. At the end of the movie I produced, Plant Pure Nation, we issued a call to action for people to form local support and advocacy groups called pods. Hundreds of these groups formed, engaging hundreds of thousands of people. We subsequently launched our 501c3 organization, Plant Pure Communities, to support this pod network. Pods are independent groups made up of people who want to learn about or advocate for a plant-based diet. Anyone can join or create a pod, and it is free and easy to do. You can use the pod map tool on PPC's website to locate a pod near you. As many of you know, making change is hard. But after learning of the benefits of plant-based nutrition, you are probably feeling motivated to make a difference, not only in your own life, but also with your family, friends, and neighbors. And you can do this through the support network of a pod. Pod members hold educational plant-based meetings, invite guest speakers, plan veg fests, host potlucks and movie screenings, and dine together at plant-based restaurants. Through a pod, you also can engage in advocacy strategies that help to bring the message of plant-based nutrition into your community. For example, you can access virtual toolkits for use in targeted campaigns focused on healthy school lunches, community gardening, veg fests, pods on college campuses, and more. An example of a community campaign you can join or start through a pod is the Plant Pure Communities Restaurant Campaign. Pod members across the country are working to encourage restaurants in their communities to offer plant-based, oil-free options. Pod members use a virtual toolkit to engage in discussion with local restaurant owners, helping them understand how easy it is to offer plant-based menu options, and providing compelling data on the business benefits for making this change. There is a growing list of participating restaurants from across the country, which you can check out on the restaurant campaign map located on PPC's website. Another campaign program is the Plant Pure Communities Oasis program. This program is focused on bringing the plant-based nutrition message into underserved neighborhoods. For too long, health and wellness messaging and resources have bypassed those communities where our healthcare crisis is most severe. Through the Oasis Jumpstart program, pods can join with local healthcare providers, nonprofit organizations, faith-based groups, and others to help bring the healing message of plant-based nutrition into the underserved neighborhoods of their local community. Finally, pods can engage in public advocacy. The Plant Pure Communities Advocacy Council is informing pod members on a wide range of local, national, and international issues. And this advocacy extends beyond health to include the urgent issue of climate change. The food we choose to eat can have an enormous impact on our climate. And because of complex and poorly understood feedback loops, we may be nearing a tipping point with our climate. The need to raise awareness of this issue and its connection to our food choices has never been more urgent. You know, our world may sometimes seem dark, but I believe we can look forward to our future with optimism. At the end of our movie, I wrote in the words, "The future is bright. All we need to do is see it." I was trying to communicate that we can control our future by changing the way we see, to see larger truths, the most important being the truth of social change. Governments and industries, led by the right people, can sometimes do good things, but we will never fully heal our world until we figure out how to empower local communities to fix problems. People helping people lead healthier, fuller lives. So you can get off the couch, away from the negativity of your TV and computer screens, and join a pod in your area. If there are no pods in your community, you can start a new pod. Remember, anyone is welcome to participate in a pod. You don't have to be fully plant-based, just interested in learning. The pods offer an inclusive environment for everyone, no matter where you are on your health journey. Please visit the Plant Pure Communities website at plantpurecommunities.org and subscribe using the link on your screen to stay updated on all we are doing. Thank you.
Wasn't that awesome? I hope you guys liked that. And remember, click on the comments below and see what you can tell us about what you think. Click here to subscribe. And until next time, be strong!